Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 22. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad you guys are back with us here for this Friday show. Dave, how you doing? How did you enjoy watching Thursday Night Football Amazon Prime style last night?
You know, I didn't mind it at all. And you know, I guess I read on Twitter a lot of people having kind of hiccups with the stream and all like that and buffering. I never haven't had an issue out here out west, and I enjoyed it. Now, could the quality be a little bit video quality and all? And I imagine after this test run, they'll, you know, with whatever complaints that they get, I bet they hop on this right away and increase whatever they need to do, bandwidth, or I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I especially enjoyed the Prime View because you can get different views of this thing, traditional, you know, TV broadcast, and then the Prime View that includes a lot of all 22 views in there. So and then obviously I wish you could turn off and on kind of the, you know, the framing of that Prime View where those stats won't always show. I wish you could toggle back and forth between that because it's, you know, it obviously reduces the size of the actual, you know, shot of the play and all like that a little bit there. But I thought it was fantastic, man. I think this will become the norm here at some point. I think all of your broadcast at some point will have some sort of option where you can just see the regular TV view, maybe a stats view, and then hopefully just a flat out all 22 view. You know, that's something us nerds have been calling for years, and hopefully we're close. Now we need to get college football to catch up with this. You know,
good luck.
And there's money to be made there, you know. That's the thing. If they're all about money, then grab the money. I mean, you got you sending me down a
I know early.
Yeah, you got me up on the soapbox here. You know, all these all 22, you know, databases like what is XOS and all like that. You know, even with the college all 22 in that, man, they will go after your butt on Twitter and YouTube and all like that for using just all 22 cut-ups, you know, that they claim, I guess, are proprietary and all. And sooner or later, that's going to catch up. But there's too much money to be made there. Now, obviously, we get that stuff kind of after the year through, you know, database shares and all like that. But even still, if you use certain cut-ups, are going to come after you in that aspect there. I mean, it's literally just a different view of a play, but some people want to claim the copyright and all like that. And at some point, though, I have a feeling because of the money that's going to be there to be made with these college programs, that they'll eventually catch up. But you know, that's a long answer to your question. I really did enjoy the Amazon Prime View, and particularly that Prime Stats View last night.
I do love the rabbit holes I can send you down from. Dave, how'd you enjoy the game too? Well, the college football system systematically is broken and hopefully will be fixed. I just DM'd you an article that was written just a couple of days ago about the underground all 22 of college football. It was just written and talked about how even for other teams until very recently, it was basically a free-for-all trying to obtain all 22 of other programs because it was so
crazy
well kept. Yeah, it was like literally, I think a year or two ago, they finally all got together and kind of have an actual central database of information now. So good luck on terms of trying to get that for the mainstream because they just got it for the actual programs themselves. But I thought the Prime stream was good. The audio on my end was pretty low. I don't know if it was for you. I really couldn't hear things super loudly. But the audio was fine. The stream itself was healthy. And it is important to note all this because Pittsburgh will be playing on that next week against the Browns on Thursday night. So for out-of-market people, that's how they'll have to watch. You can apparently, and this is how I did it, watch it on Twitch for free, the Amazon Prime Video Twitch stream. You can watch it for free. So I don't have Amazon Prime or anything like that. And so I still was able to watch the game without having to sign up or pay for anything. So that's an important note, assuming that continues going forward for next weekend's game.
Cheapskate.
I know. Hey, free's for me, for sure. Anyway.
The thing that, some of the things that you just said, though, but about the all 22 and all like that, it's just, it floors me because there's plenty of people willing to pay for this. And I know that stuff gets shared and all like that, but it's just, it just floors me how college football hasn't come up with a way to how to monetize this yet. Of all dang people, you would think it would be them. But
I think it's college coaches are very protective of the information. That's I think the issue.
Oh man, what is it? 1960 something? Where you worry about giving your reel out to somebody and not getting it back? I mean, this stuff circulates anyway. Don't tell me that these guys don't find a way to get all 22 on their opponent every week or up until recently,
They were, right. But I think, I don't know. That seems to be because the NFL had that thought for a while too. So the masses can't see what we're doing and criticize us more or expose us more or show more. That I think it's a dumb thought, but I think that is the thought.
That'll make football better if more people are able to identify. Now, look, I admit you spend a week on Twitter with some of these junior analysts and all. Some people ought to have to pass the test to be able to write about all 22 and what they think that they see. And on, look, we don't get everything right either, but I guarantee you we get the mass of the stuff right of what we see on tape and all like that. But anyway, look, here's my theory about everything. Oh, and you talked about the audio. I know where I was going with that. I'm over 50. We turned everything up very loud.
But it was still, I had it full max and it was still soft for me, the announcer audio.
Okay. All right. About the other is, and one of my theories, man, if there's money to be made on something, people are going to find a way to make money on something. Sure. So hopefully we're not too far away from the college all 22. Man, I kid you not, I would pay $1,000 annually for access to every game,
Right. And I would pay that just for the peace of mind of my account's not going to get taken down or with a copyright strike because of some sort of issue. I would pay $1,000 just to know that won't happen.
All right. People probably really enjoyed young kid and old man ranting but talking about, we get paid to watch football, and here we are bitching about it essentially. But happy Friday, Alex.
Happy Friday, Dave. A little bit later in the show, we'll have Ben Volin on to talk Patriots. He's a senior writer at the Boston Globe. You can check him out at bostonglobe.com. So we'll talk to him a little bit later to get the preview on the 0-1 New England Patriots. All right, Dave, let's start here with the roster moves the Pittsburgh Steelers have recently made. TJ Watt is landing and has landed on injured reserve due to that pec injury, although it's expected he'll return sometime around Halloween. We'll call it he will at least miss the next 4 games, which was expected, and so a pretty much anticipated move given the timetable for TJ Watt. Replacing Watt on the 53-man roster is David Anenih, who's a rookie out of Houston, who had signed with the Titans and then taken and signed away from Tennessee just the other day, had his first practice with Pittsburgh yesterday. And so that is the roster move that's made. Watt to IR, and Anenih, which is a name I'm still working on saying, but I think I have it right, has been signed to the Steelers roster.
Yeah, and I actually knew a little bit about this kid prior to the Steelers claim or signing him off of the Titans practice squad. He was a East-West Shrine Bowl game kid. So all of our folks that came out here to Vegas to watch, to scout the game ahead of time and all the stuff that goes along with that. Even long before that, Tom Meade's got a great eye, and a lot of these stuff that he does, he'll write up before the actual bowl week or bowl games, hit and all like that. And he kind of had a blurb in the in the preview of the East West Shrine Bowl about David Anenih, and kind of short, squatty, not as a big of a guy from a height standpoint, but long arms. And this is a kid that had a lot of sacks at the college level. And let me tell you, when you look at his college tape, and and he was another one, he was, I guess, kind of the Ola Adeini of the preseason, right? The sack leader.
Yeah. And three of them, I believe, 3 sacks.
Yeah, 3 sacks with the Titans. He was the guy that the Titans were claiming, or Titans fans were claiming, oh, you can't waive this kid. He's going to get claimed off of waivers. He'll never make it to the practice squad. Well, he made it to the practice squad. He just didn't make it out of to week 2 on the practice squad. Look, it's going to be hard for this kid to catch the moving train, so to speak. But I tell you what, he can rush the quarterback, and I don't know how much he's going to play, if any, on the defensive side of football in this week 2 game on Sunday against the New England Patriots. But if he does, I would treat him like Bill Coward treated Greg Lloyd many, many moons ago. Rush the quarterback. Maybe you can get him in there, I don't know, in some obvious kind of passing down type situations. Look, even if he plays, he's not going to play a lot of snaps. But if you were to get him on the field right out of the chute, I would imagine it would be as a pass rusher. And I think he kind of said as much in his interview on Thursday. I haven't had a chance to go deep into his college tape and all like that, but the little bit that I have seen with those long arms and all of his, he can use those long arms. He got a little bit of a bend to him, and he can rush the quarterback. And you probably say, well, Dave, what's he doing on the practice squad? Well, take some of these guys. Just rushing the quarterback isn't all that you can do in the NFL. You got to be able to play the run, got to be able to diagnose stuff and all like that on top of there. But as far as raw traits go, and specifically when it comes to rushing the quarterback, and there's not a lot not to like when it comes to David Anenih.
Yeah, from what I know about him, just kind of watching some stuff briefly last night, mostly what he did in college at Houston. I like his size, like his length, his bend, his strength to rip and bend through contact, and he's forced 4 fumbles in his Cougars career, 1 each season that he played. And so he's a guy that's able to get after the football and bat down passes and things like that. So I think he will play. I mean, even before TJ Watt went down last week, Jameer Jones had played 10 snaps in that game. And so there's a little bit of opportunity for that number 4 to rotate in to some small degree. I think Pittsburgh will have to be creative, and we could see some more 3-3-5 that may try to mitigate the loss of TJ Watt and not put so much on some backup outside linebackers, really lean on the strength of the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line depth. But I think Anenih will play some, and we'll see what kind of impact he can have.
Yeah, look, and you're not going to be able to replace a TJ Watt. I mean, that's obvious, an obvious statement there. But maybe you can put pieces of a little, 2 or 3 guys together and maybe get some semblance. Here's the biggest thing: are they still going to be able to get pressure and get after the opposing quarterback with not having to be so creative with some blitzes and numbers? The more, if they can stay effective at getting after the quarterback with just 4 guys, that's what you want to do. And we're going to find out real quick if they're able to, because you would have to think at this point, any attention that Watt might have gotten is going to go over to Highsmith's side when it comes to the edge type stuff. Obviously, Cameron Hayward in the center of that defense. Now you can pay a little bit, maybe more attention to him. So after this game takes place on Sunday, looking back to see, man, were they able to get consistent pressure with 4 guys? I think is going to be very, very important. or if they do have to go 5-man rushes, how effective are they or are those in getting home?
I think you can't, to me, just replace TJ Watt with Malik Reed and Jameer Jones and David Anenih and just call it a day and expect the same or similar results. I think structurally you will have to change things. What that looks like, could and probably will be a variety of different things, whether that is using a bit more 3-3-5, which they used a little bit in some red zone play late last week, although the Patriots don't run as much 11 personnel, so we'll have to see if that's still going to be the same approach this week. I think they'll have to probably find some creative, safe pressure, 4-man pressures, which they used a bit last week. Think about the Millette blitzes. Those are 4-man pressures. Maybe you do some of that and some different kind of things. And they probably will, to me, have to bring more people as well, some more 5-man pressures as well, because you just can't put the cast of characters and expect 2 or 3 guys on the edge to replace what TJ Watt was able to do and generate the same level of pressure. So Pittsburgh really last year and for week 1 was getting pretty comfortable and not blitzing a lot, not sending more than 4 that often, really relying on its front 4 to get home and drop 7 in a coverage that was working really effectively. I don't think they'll be able to keep that overall game plan and structure and have the same success they've been having. So I think they will have to change some things structurally and schematically if they want to continue to generate a decent amount of pressure.
And look, it's just not rushing the quarterback either. It's all the other stuff that goes along with TJ Watt, the backside, tracking down those backside runs and his ability to read sometimes when it's going to be quick pass and be able to take that kind of that, quasi half step back and then the elevation that he gets. I mean, he's good for at least seems like 2 bat downs a game, right?
Did that last week, pick in a SWAT.
Yeah, and those kind of things. So it's more than just sacks and pressures and all like that. It's everything else that he gives you on top of it. And don't think that the Patriots aren't going to run wide more than a couple of times in this game to see how effective these outside linebackers are at maybe being able to not get caught inside.
And as you said, in terms of what does it mean for a Hayward or a Highsmith to get more attention? Obviously, intuitively we understand that may be the case, but I think about line slides. The line would always slide to Watt's side, so the guard was often trying to give help to the tackle. Now you could really slide the other way and now have the left guard and the center help on Cam Hayward. And so that's going to be big this week for the rookie they have over there in New England and Cole Strange. That center's going to be able to give more help because if they were line sliding to Watt, that center was often sliding that way to pick up the tackle. The guard and the tackle would help out on the outside linebacker on TJ Watt. And so the way that you slide and the way that you can protect can be now shifted towards Cam Hayward. And so that's what I think is important to note when we talk about paying more attention. The way that you slide can now totally be flipped. And that's going to make Hayward's job a lot tougher with a lot less one-on-one chances to rush.
Right. He was part of my terrible take on Thursday is kind of one of, look, there's just not one matchup to look at every week. There's several of them, but you're coming off of the game where Cam Hayward played against rookie Cordell Volson with the Bengals there and really had his way, welcome to the NFL rook kind of situation there. And then you turn around and you got another rookie in Cole Strange, who really, when you look at the tape top to bottom from the Patriots game against the Dolphins, especially in pass protection, I thought Strange represented himself fairly well overall. And then I thought more than anything, the negative in Cole Strange and his game was run related. However, the Patriots as a whole had some communication protection issues, which ended up playing a huge part in that game overall. But yeah, it will be interesting to focus in on specifically the right side of, looking behind the defense, the right side of their front, particularly with Cam Hayward and Alex Highsmith, to see how those guys are handled and see if they're able to impact this game. And if with those protections indeed possibly sliding over that way, Larry Ogunjobi going to have to start maybe earn a little bit more money this week,
Sure. And again, they may have to send more people as well. Their, 5+ rush numbers were way down, super low compared to where they've been, 2-3 years ago. Their overall blitz numbers were as low as we ever tracked it last year. I think it was like 22%. I mean, there was times in years where it was 35%. And so they were really getting comfortable because ideally what every defense wants to do is rush 4 and drop 7 and get pressure. You talk about that all the time. If you can rush 4, get to the quarterback and play coverage, you're aces. I mean, that is the gold standard that everyone wants to have and do. And that's what Pittsburgh was accomplishing routinely. That may change, and that's going to hurt them in terms of what coverages they play. Again, how many people are covering, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's going to be the challenge for Pittsburgh until Watt returns.
And look, you even wrote about this overnight here. I mean, or you had the video up and then had to post about it up this morning. I mean, they were able to play a lot of different styles of cover 2 against the Bengals because of what they were able to do up front there. And you can sit back and disguise that so many different ways, as you said, in inverted, an inverted version of the cover 2 with your slot guy. You can inverted cover 2 with both your outside corners,
or just one corner. Yeah, they were doing everything.
Or just one corner. You can play the Tampa 2 of that. You could do so many things just off of, and then that's not even getting into cover 2 man,
right.
That you could particularly run. And it will be interesting to see, how do you send the numbers and still be able to, have the 2 deep shells and not make yourself vulnerable in the middle of the field,
Right. And they were actually even blitzing out of cover 2 a bit as well with Arthur Millette. You think about that last sack that he had, that was a cover 2 blitz, but to me that you kind of have to scrap that this week because that's on tape pretty good. I mean, I'm surprised.
Bill Belichick made sure he in a couple of interviews, Bill Belichick made sure to let everybody know how much he knew the Steelers ran cover 2 in that game.
Right. But that blitz, it was really kind of funny to me because they kept running the same nickel blitz there, and you could just tell by the pre-snap alignment of the D tackles that blitz was coming, and they actually ran that on the last 2 plays. So they include the play before the Millette sack force fumble, and then obviously that final play there, and the Bengals just never seemed to catch on. But I promise you, Belichick's not going to be fooled by that. So that blitz was effective, but that one goes out the window because it's very much on tape from week 1.
You might have to play a little bit more cover 1 in this one, because look, Mac Jones with that Mac Jones probably not going to want to scramble with the football like Joe Burrow did last week, right? And the bad thing about man coverage is your eyes are away from the pocket, and if contain is broken by a quarterback, he can usually scamper for 12, 13, 15, 18 yards and all like that. I have a feeling Mac Jones isn't going to want to run with the football that much this week.
Sure. I mean, I just think, again, to the point of how blitzing may limit you from a coverage standpoint, and I know we're getting into the weeds here a little bit, but
we went straight into the breakdown section,
right.
Didn't we?
We did. But if you're rushing 5, you really can't play cover 2 behind that. Cover 2 is a 2 deep, 5 under scheme. That's 7 in coverage. If you're rushing 5, you got 6 to cover. And so you're really kind of playing a lot more cover 1 or cover 3. It's harder to employ seamer coverages. We'll talk about later how the Patriots run a lot of twin receiver sets where they have 2 receivers to one side, and Pittsburgh does not travel their corners. So either an outside linebacker has to walk out or a safety has to drop down. If a safety drops down, you're playing a lot of cover 1, cover 3 because you're immediately going into middle of the field closed and one high safety. And so I just wonder, because Pittsburgh really was throwing a lot at Joe Burrow. They had a lot of different coverages and rotations and stuff. That's going to be a lot tougher just based on the Patriots scheme. And then again, if you are blitzing and sending 5, I think it does limit some of your coverage options.
Okay. All right. Maybe we need to push a little bit of this back now. We've done a lot. That's our pregame preview.
Yeah, right. There you go. All right, let's jump into the injury report here, Dave, that came out on Thursday. Overall encouraging news. Najee Harris and Levi Wallace, who were limited on Wednesday, were listed as full participants on Thursday. Robert Spillane has been full all week with the eye injury. Mason Cole's been limited all week with an ankle, but he's expected to play. Kim Hayward got the rest day on Wednesday. limited work on Thursday. It's worth noting that I don't know exactly what the nature of yesterday's practice was, but Wednesday was basically a walkthrough to hear from players, which makes sense considering how much football this team played on Sunday against the Bengals. But overall trending where Harris, Wallace, Spillane, Cole will play. Again, basically everybody but TJ Watt should play in this game.
And he can't play because he's on IR.
Right.
So there's that. But I guess Friday's going to be a bigger day for Najee to see how he responds to what the work, that he did, however physical it was on Thursday there. I mean, he has said ever since the head of the Mike Tomlin that interview with Adam Shine, he has been emphatic that he's going to play this week. I just wonder how effective he's going to be.
That's the question. How much and how effective?
Right. Even if he does, and remember, quick turnaround week here. You got the Browns on Thursday, so even if he does play, I think you better be real judicious with him. So I think you're going to see a lot of Jalen Warren, and I almost said Jalen Samuels. A lot of Jalen Warren in this game, and probably a little bit of Benny Snell too. And once again, we'll see what the Friday injury report states. Obviously, if Najee Harris is not questionable on Friday, he's going to play unless he has some sort of a setback and then gets downgraded on Saturday. But if Najee Harris is listed as questionable Friday out later today, then we're going to have to sit and watch what happens on Saturday to see if they make any sort of a move with Anthony McFarland Jr. as an elevation there. So, if indeed he does play, if you own him in fantasy, man, you better hope that he gets a touchdown, because I don't know how you feel about it, but I just don't see a big week coming for Najee Harris.
Yeah, I'm not too terribly optimistic about him having a monster
I own
week.
him in one big money league too, by the way.
Your other options weren't great. You were asking me last night what Pacheco, Sony Michel, or Harris. I said stick with Harris, which is probably a good move because the other guys did nothing last night, Thursday night's game. But I think Harris will play, as you said. We just talked about. The question is, how much will he play? How effective will he be? I think he'll be rotated heavily in this game. Jalen Warren did well as a rookie in his NFL debut. They probably earned some more trust in him. It may be a 50-50 type of split, to be honest with you. I would not be surprised if that's kind of the way the snap share was overall distributed in this game. I do hate, man, why did they get rid of the probable tag? I hate this questionable tag because you just don't know which way it means. But I'm pretty confident that Harris will play this weekend.
Okay, I'm uplifted by the fact that he practiced and listed as full, but I'm not ready to say I definitively think he will play. And if he does end up playing, I worry about his effectiveness and overall amount of times that you can get the football in his hands.
Yeah, I think again, to the latter point is my bigger concern right now. Again, I think he will play, but we'll see exactly what the Friday report says. And he may be questionable, but again, in this world of where there is no probable, to me, questionable becomes a lot less. Like if he's full and he's questionable, he's going to play. If he's a full participant and still just listed as questionable.
Okay.
The only thing I'd be concerned by is basically if he was a DNP. Even if he was limited, I'd still feel like this guy's probably going to go.
Okay.
All right, Dave. Patriots, where are they at health-wise? They're in, I think, pretty good shape, aren't they?
Yeah, Trent, who is it? Trent Brown showed up on the injury report for them yesterday, and quarterback Mac Jones had the day off because of a kind of a stomach virus or bug or something like that. I would expect him to be a full participant on Friday, and then we'll see how the rest of it. That who's it? The Bentley kid, the linebacker. He's probably one to maybe pay attention to on Friday, but it sounds like he's going to play through, what is it? I think it's a toe injury on him. And the other 3 or 4 on there, couple of defensive backs or a couple of safeties and Pierre Strong and I think a cornerback. But I think 3 or 4 of those guys were inactive in week 1 anyway.
Is your boy Pierre Strong playing this week? No time out.
I don't think so. I don't know because he was because of him being limited. No, I don't know. And if he does play, probably not going to be that big of a snap count for him.
Right. Bentley was, as you said, the name to watch. He's their big thumper in the middle. I'm a big Juwan Bentley fan. And so, as you said, it sounds like he's trending towards playing, but that's the one name I'll watch. Mac Jones is going to play. And so that's, to me, a non-story. I know it was a story early in the week, but he's good to go for Sunday.
Let's see. Bentley went from did not practice on Wednesday to limited on Thursday. Probably going to be, limited or full. And Trent Brown with an ankle popped up on there with limited, but I think everybody's thinking that he's going to – it doesn't sound like they have injury issues other than just hoping Mac Jones doesn't have any back issues crop up on him.
Dave, the Steelers coordinators spoke yesterday, as they do on every Thursday. Teryl Austin and Matt Canada speaking to the media. Again, nothing earth-shattering they're saying there. I know Austin talked about the Steelers' run defense and the good first steps. What was your opinion of that 31-yard 4th and 1 run allowed to Joe Mixon? Where do you think the fault was there? I mean, Cam Hayward, Austin talked about maybe they weren't in the right gaps on that play. I was having some difficulty trying to figure out who was to blame.
I didn't see the egregiousness in there that he claims that there was.
It sounds like there was something. I mean, the Bengals had that late motion that kind of created that extra gap on the tight end insert block.
Right.
So, I mean, it would maybe either be Miles Jack or Larry Ogunjobi. I think Pittsburgh was just simply outnumbered. They had they were on they had McKillibrew on the weak side of that play. They had 5 defenders, 6 blockers. I think just bad math hurt Pittsburgh on that play.
Yeah, I would agree there. And if you're like me, and I know you are, I mean, I go right to trying to look at what went right or what went wrong on some explosive plays. And I did that right out of the chute when this all 22 dropped this week. And I didn't see the egregiousness in there of a gap, of a bad assignment.
Right. I mean, unless Jack needs to be a little, not try to shoot that gap, or someone has to try to 2-gap or fall back. I'm not quite sure. But I mean, to Austin's point, run defense better, still a long ways to go, but certainly encouraged. Even with that long run, the Bengals averaged under 4 yards a carry. Mixon was at 3 yards a carry on the dot. And so, I mean, considering he ran for $165 last time you saw him last year, I think they have to finish and the pursuit has to be a bit better. But overall, a night and day difference compared to last meeting.
Yeah, look, and as we talked after the game, Burrow, some of the containment issues on Burrow were played obviously a huge part in that. I mean, because he averaged 8 yards per rush. Burrow did.
Yeah, something like that. I think he had 47 yards total, which is more than any one Steeler had rushing. So I think there were some communication and just some overall, rush integrity issues that the Pittsburgh had there.
Okay.
Let's see what else did Teryl Austin have to say. Anything else? He didn't really say a whole lot, I don't think, really in the interview. Yeah,
some of these questions are just blow your mind. Do you need to reel in Minkah Fitzpatrick?
Right. What is even who's even suggesting that? How's that even a thought or a consideration?
I mean, you act like this guy went rogue on you or something like that. I mean, the hit on Higgins, it wasn't egregious at all. The hit in the back of the end zone, come on. And I think in so many words he said, "Are you kidding me?" Or there were a couple of times I think Austin had issues with the questions. Let's see, the follow up to one of the questions, he said, "Do you guys have to reel him in a little bit? He kind of plays on the edge." What kind of question is that?
No idea. Don't even know what that means.
Yeah,
right. If that's the edge, I want Minkah on the edge every single week.
Absolutely. And Austin said, "Why would you reel a guy in?" And later on in there, he was asked a question.
It was about the returning to Cincinnati.
Yeah, you went back to Cincinnati where you coached. Is there anything to that of wanting to show them He says, I wasn't there long enough. No, it didn't matter to me. Are you kidding me?
He's been with Pittsburgh since 2019. He spent like 6 weeks in Cincinnati, then got fired. He probably wants to forget about his time with the Bengals.
Most of these yo-yos don't understand what they're watching anyway, so they can't ask questions about scheme. They just want to catch something that's going to sell a headline or a story.
Yeah, that's an angle someone was trying to work there, but that's a question to ask in 2019, not in 2022.
Right.
All right, let's flip over to Matt Canada, who was not that more interesting in terms of the conversation. There did talk about the third down issues, and obviously everyone knows Pittsburgh pretty woeful on third down in the opener, going 4 of 15. Canada talked about how there was just some things that were slightly missed, some catches short of the sticks. Also talked about some of the miscommunication. So I went through some of the plays that he's probably referring to when he talks about the communication. Again, I think there were a lot of issues offensively, but just from a pure communication, execute the play call as it's called standpoint, Pittsburgh was a big mess in this game, especially in the second half. They were really bad in the second half. Just so many miscommunications and guys not executing their assignment that really doomed these plays from the start.
What did you see on that one over to the right side with Freiermuth and Pickett that you pointed out?
With Pickens? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pickett.
You might have said Pickett.
George Pickett and Kenny Pickens.
Right.
I'm back on that again.
I think it was miscommunication. I think it was on Pickens, not Freiermuth. That was my takeaway there. That Pickens should have broken his route off, and he did not.
But wouldn't that put them both in the same vicinity there?
That's true.
That's why I kind of wonder. Now you can see at the tail end of the I think the end zone view where Trubisky's kind of body motion lets you know that at least lets you think that that somebody did something wrong.
Yeah, there was definitely a communication breakdown, and those can be the toughest things for us to figure out because you're trying to guess at what went wrong. I mean, if it's not Pickens, then Freiermuth should have run more of a speed out or gone vertical, you think?
I don't know.
Pickens is going right. It feels like there's enough room where Pickens, like it's a sight adjustment, and they wanted, because they were running so many like quick curls and hitting Deontay on those plays all day. It felt like that Trubisky wanted Pickens to break down at the sticks, and Pickens did not.
Well, I just kind of feel that you had two guys in a close vicinity there. So maybe both of them, maybe both of them carried out the wrong assignment there.
I mean, it felt like he was trying to throw to the sideline though, like not where Freiermuth was really at.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure.
I struggle with putting the blame on where to put the blame on that particular play. What else did you see? What other plays?
Well, the other communication issue was on that last play with 8 seconds left where James Daniels, I don't know what he was thinking, just let the D tackle go through. And thank God for Trubisky just kind of throwing that ball away, because if you take a sack there, that's game over. That's blouses. And so I was against even just running that final play, but there was a communication issue there that, certainly could have been disaster.
All right. What else? Canada doesn't reveal too much. We got to get better. Would we like 2-yard gains to be 3 or 4 yard gains, that kind of stuff? He was kind of asked about middle of the field passing and all like that, took it down a whole different route, and didn't give an answer that way. He says, what can you guys do to use the middle of the field more? He says, throw it there. He's not wrong. Obviously, there's a lot of things. You look at our Sundays, at our game Sunday, we were fortunate to win. Defense, special teams, we made enough, blah, blah, blah. After he said throw it there, he went a whole different direction,
Yeah, I mean, I know that's the big talking point, not throwing to the middle.
You got to have routes run to the middle of the field, be able to throw to the middle of the field. You got to. I mean, there weren't any Yankee or Mills or any really big deep digs in this thing overall. Anyway, I mean, yes, and what cracks me up is you got people saying, well, they didn't take shots down the field. Well, they did. It's just they weren't effective, and they mostly were outside the numbers when they took the shots down the field there. There, other than the broken play or two, there was nobody to throw down the middle of the field to.
I feel like you could have recorded this last year and just replayed this for this podcast and had basically the same correct assessment. I mean, it's one game. I think people just have to be a little careful on rushing to judgment about anything, good or bad, league-wide, Pittsburgh or not, after just 1 week, and just kind of see how these things play out over time.
What'd you think about Claypool and Watt running the mesh in the middle of the field and basically looking like they wanted to fight there? That was the play that I was talking about that Trubisky ended up taking off with. There, that third down play that I thought maybe after he had kind of escaped the pocket there, that he probably could have lofted one over towards the numbers to Freiermuth. That's the same play where he looks in the middle of the field as he's escaping, and you have Watt and Claypool basically staring at each other.
Watt as a third down back was a choice in this game for a guy who has not done much of that. There was
not
that
a good
issue
one
that you pointed out. There was a double barrel A-gap blitz where Watt picked up nobody, kind of had a deer in the headlights, didn't know who to pick up, and blocked nobody on that play. So I'm not really sure why Watt's the guy there. I guess I really don't know why Watt's the third down option. I mean, he's done a little bit of that in training camp, but Warren looked to be pretty solid there, and Benny Snell's got experience in pass pro. I'd rather go with either of those guys before I go with Derek Watt as my quasi third down back.
There was some curious personnel not only groupings, but usage. We talked about, I mean, did you see the plays I referenced about Gunner and all like that, and asking him to do things that just are not fair to ask him to do?
Like the crack toss, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I'm with you on that. Anything else that caught your eye in terms of weird personnel stuff?
Just Watt in those certain situations that you just referenced.
Okay.
You have got to find a way to get George Pickens on the field a tad bit more and the football into his hands.
Well, he played 45 snaps. They just didn't really target him. It felt like. I mean, so I think can you just find ways to get him the ball a bit more, I think.
Or use them more in the running game down low. Because, look, let me tell you, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit, the Patriots sure find a way to get their wide receivers blocking down inside the box. Yeah.
I think the run game, I mean, just overall, my view of the run game was there was no push up front. I mean, that's where it started. I mean, they just got no push, no movement on the line of scrimmage. The red zone, goal line stuff was really poor. But it was interesting to see Claypool get all those carries. 6 carries is a lot. And Canada said, it was kind of Claypool that week. It may not always be Claypool. But I think the one issue with the receiver runs are they run like receivers, but they also have the vision of receivers. And sometimes they miss holes and miss cutbacks and things like that. And that's problematic.
All right. Anything else stick out about Matt Canada?
Nope, not really. That's pretty typical of not much to say. Not much. He says a lot of words, but it doesn't really say a lot. All right, Dave, I think it's a good time here to take a break and talk to Ben Volin of the Boston Globe. Be sure to follow him on Twitter at Ben Volin. Again, writer for the Boston Globe, longtime NFL beat writer for, I think, Miami for a little bit, and then now with New England. Had him on the show before. Really good interview, so we'll take a pause here and come back here with Ben.
And welcome back to the Terrible Podcast. It is Friday, and that means that we're going to be talking to an opposing beat writer for the Pittsburgh Steelers opponent. That opponent, obviously, on Sunday at 1:00 Eastern time at Acrisure Stadium is going to be the New England Patriots. And pleased to have back on the show once again. It's been a little while, and I think we've even had him back on the show when he covered the Dolphins several years ago as well. I am, of course, talking about Ben Volin. Ben is the senior NFL writer at the Boston Globe. You can read his work. He's been covering the NFL since 2007. Go to bostonglobe.com in the Patriots section, and you should be able to find Ben's work there. Once again, Ben Volin. Ben, welcome back to the Terrible Podcast. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. And boy, how weird is it for you guys not to say Heinz Field? That one, that just struck me just now.
It's been a chore for sure, and people hate that we're we've been fairly good about it overall, and not slipping up. And of course, a lot of the Steelers faithful don't like the name change there. And but I tell you, another something that's weird is Steelers playing the Patriots. And this game, not including either Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger. I think you got to go back to the later days at the old Three Rivers Stadium for the last time that happened, for sure. So, and also it's been a couple of years since the Steelers have played the Patriots here. Ben, to start off with, kind of previewing this matchup. Obviously, it is week 2, and the season has already started. But going into the season last week ahead of the Patriots playing the Dolphins, what was your general overview / expectations, if you will, of the 2022 New England Patriots?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was not a very good training camp for the Patriots. First of all, it was a tough off season. You know, they come out of last year. You think, okay, 10-7 record with a rookie quarterback, made the playoffs, a lot of positivity. But they had a really bad December and January, like really collapsed down the stretch. And then the blowout loss to the Bills in the playoffs, I think, just exposed all these weaknesses on both sides of the ball. And they didn't do really much to address any of them. They didn't get Mac Jones, I don't think, an elite weapon. They went out and got Devontae Parker on the outside. We'll see. He had 1 catch for 9 yards in the first game. So they didn't get him an elite weapon. They didn't go out and get him an offensive coordinator. They lost Josh McDaniels, and they bring back Matt Patricia, the former defensive guy, to run the show here. Defense, you know, they didn't upgrade the pass rush. They didn't seem to get incredibly athletic at linebacker. They let J.C. Jackson, their cornerback, walk, and all they did was re-sign Malcolm Butler out of retirement, who didn't even make it through training camp. So just not a good offseason. And then the training camp was bad. The offense just struggled day in and day out. They're trying to, you know, simplify things on offense with Matt Patricia taking over and potentially, you know, new scheme. And it wasn't working well. And the offense was clearly very frustrated in practice, in the games. And then they come out against the Dolphins on Sunday. They score 7 points, 1 touchdown and 8 drives. They make some crippling mistakes, an interception in the end zone, 2 unblocked pass rushers, one of which leads to a strip sack and a touchdown. The other completely ruins a drive. So just can't get out of their own way. You know, had some positive moments, but there wasn't much creativity on offense. There wasn't much there. And so fans are very down on the team right now. And as you can tell, so is the media. So not a good start to the Patriots. The only way to go is up. That said, Belichick does have a history of kind of improving things and fixing problems. So we'll see how it goes. But not a good start to the season for the Patriots by any stretch.
What would your I just watched the not only the TV tape but the all 22 of the game against the Dolphins late last night. What would your 3 main takeaways be from that loss?
My first takeaway is the offense. I don't know what they were doing in training camp, but they didn't show much. It was just Mac Jones for the most part. In shotgun and just dropping back and throwing, finding a receiver underneath or throwing a jump ball over the top, a 50-50 ball. And it's like there was no imagination, no scheme to get guys open, and most notably, almost no play action. They ran 2 play action passes. They were both screen passes to the tight end, Jonnu Smith. And it's like, this is not a team where the receivers can win off the line of scrimmage. They need the play action to create separation, to get some chunk plays in the offense. Where's the play action? That should be the number one staple of this offense. So I want to see more of that moving forward. Kendrick Bourne, the wide receiver, that was the big story coming out. He was, arguably their best receiver last year, had 800 yards, I think 5 touchdowns, had a couple big plays, like a 75-yard touchdown against the Cowboys. He was probably their most dynamic receiver last year. Had a weird training camp, was out of the lineup, got benched, had a fight in practice, all that stuff. Comes out in the season opener, played 2 snaps. And on his first snap, he caught a 41-yard bomb down the sideline. So it's like, well, maybe, and that was late in the fourth quarter. It's like, well, maybe you should play Kendrick Bourne. So his usage against the Steelers, I have a feeling he's going to get in the game a lot more, because that was when your offense is only scoring 7 points and you have your most dynamic receiver on the sideline. That's not going to cut it. And then lastly, I thought the defense played well against the Dolphins. They gave up a bad touchdown on 4th and 7 toward the end of the first half where Kyle Duggar took a bad angle and a couple guys knocked into each other. But, otherwise the Dolphins offense really didn't do much. I thought Jonathan Jones, who's really filling in as the number 2 cornerback now, did a fantastic job of chasing Tyreek Hill around, and Tyreek Hill got his catches, 8 for 94, but Jonathan Jones and the defense, they did a great job of corralling Tyreek Hill and not letting him get the yards after the catch. So the Patriots defense, they're led by their safeties, Devin McCourty, Kyle Duggar, Adrian Phillips. They play 3 safeties on the field, almost as their base defense now. The defense came out in a very good spot, I thought, against the Dolphins, and I think we'll be giving the Steelers some problems this Sunday. So I'm expecting a low-scoring slog of a game. I think both defenses are good. Both offenses are struggling right now. Field goal kickers are going to be prominent on Sunday, and probably punters as well. So I, my third takeaway there is that the Patriots defense, I think, is playing pretty well right now.
Hey, Ben, in terms of the run game, division of labor, looked like Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevenson, pretty even split there. No Ty Montgomery's no longer playing with that, I think, knee injury. How is that division of labor going to work between Harris and Stevenson? Is it Harris more the rundown kind of guy, Stevenson pass down kind of guy? Is it a pretty even rotation? How does that rotation look?
It does seem like Ramondre Stevenson is going to take more of a role on third down. I could see J.J. Taylor. He's on the practice squad. He's a little... another one of those little scat back third down guys. He's on the practice squad. I could see him getting bumped up for the game and maybe getting a few opportunities, but I do think Stevenson will get more of the role on third down. I don't see that being Damian Harris's real forte. He, to me, is really a first and second down guy, and a guy that works well with the play action pass. But I don't know if it'll be split like that as much as maybe just entire series. Like I could see Stevenson getting all 3 downs on certain series, and maybe they rotate a little bit that way. But to me, Stevenson is the guy. He's the most complete of the running backs. He's a great runner, and they keep talking him up in the passing game. Some of that too is how you handle the blitz and your blocking assignment. So we'll see if he can handle that. But I think Stevenson is the guy. And I hope the Patriots come out passing. They talk about the run game a lot, but they need to throw the ball. And Stevenson and Damian Harris just need to be, if the Patriots are serious about winning, those guys need to be more complementary pieces than the feature of the offense. So again, we'll see how that turns out on Sunday.
I think one of the most surprising picks in the first round of the draft was Cole Strange from UT Chattanooga. Now you're starting left guard, I believe. And so how has he looked so far? I know Cam Hayward, I think that could be a matchup that works in Pittsburgh's favor, but what's been the book on Strange so far, and how did he look last week?
Yeah, it's a jump from UT Chattanooga straight to the NFL.
Sure.
He's been the starting left guard since day one. I mean, you draft a guard 29, he better be the starting left guard. And I think he did okay against the Dolphins. They had one breakdown in the first half, one of those unblocked sacks. It may have been his fault. He did hit the bench the next series. The Patriots are trying to make it seem like they planned a little bit of rotation. He came back in and still played 85, 90% of the snaps last week. And they didn't really have too many offensive line breakdowns in the second half. They seemed to get the communication cleaned up, and the Dolphins pass rush didn't necessarily get home. So I thought Strange probably played okay. It's hard to truly see the impact of a left guard out there. But there's going to be the moments. I mean, there's going to be communication errors. Like I said, it's a big jump from Chattanooga to the NFL, and tough assignment this week, as you mentioned, with Cam Hayward. But with David Andrews next to him and Trent Brown, who, frankly, the left tackle, Trent Brown, was probably more of an issue on Sunday with the communication and the touchdown on the sack strip. That was probably on him and his failure to pick up the blitz and identify the rushers. But with him, with two veterans and Trent Brown and Andrews, and with Strange around him. So I think he'll probably be okay. But obviously the issue is, what are you doing taking a guard with the 29th pick when you have so many other issues? And they traded down too. They had like 21 or 22, and they could have taken a Kyer Elam or there's still plenty of good receivers and corners on the board, and they instead traded down and took a guard. So that is something that fans are not too thrilled about either around here.
If you had to pinpoint one area for Matt Jones to really try to make the jump in 2022, I know he had a solid rookie year, but what's the one area he needs to show the most growth in a sophomore season?
probably throwing downfield. It's a lot of short stuff and a lot of checkdowns right now. And the deep passing game the other day was just him dropping back and heaving rainbows down the field. And they were lucky. Only one got intercepted and probably more could have been. It's Mac Jones is right now. He's not at a point where he's going to carry this team. I just think, he's not the answer, but he's not the problem either. They put questionable coaching around him with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, two guys who have never had these roles before. The offense looked very basic on Sunday, and then receivers are clearly running the wrong routes, two guys in the same space, that kind of thing. So the whole offense is just a mess. They don't have elite talent around him. Like the Patriots would love to have the Steelers receivers, or, you look at the teams that made the divisional round, the final 8 last year, they all had a Jamar Chase and a Stephon Diggs and Deebo Samuel. I mean, the Patriots have no one who can just take a slant and break a couple tackles and, take it 50 yards. They have a bunch of 2 and 3 receivers and guys that need play action and scheme to get open, as opposed to just being able to win off the line of scrimmage. So, Mac is not a guy who's going to elevate the offense. Everything just needs to be, I think, pretty perfect around him, where the line is blocking well and his receivers are all healthy. And, the play calling, they're mixing it up well, and they're hopefully doing some play action and getting guys open. And then he can thrive and he can definitely be a winning quarterback, but he's not at the stage of his career yet where he's going to be uplifting a team that has a lot of issues around him.
We'll see your Mac Jones and raise you a Mitch Trubisky. Because Mitch had a lot, Mitch with the downfield passing's kind of been his forte, area to struggle as well too there. But looking at the Patriots offense last night, man, especially in those early drives, looked like they ran the football really well, running that crack toss to the outside. Had some good success with kind of the inside zone and getting those inside linemen out to the second level. But your main thing is you think that they should come out throwing against the Steelers, right?
Well, just in general, I just think the run game in today's NFL, if that's your plan to keep running the ball, David Andrews, the Patriots center, he's like, well, it was tough for us today. We fell behind. We lost our fastball, which is the run game. And it's like, well, if you come out running the ball, you're going to fall behind every game because you got to be able to throw the ball. And that's how you win in today's NFL. You score points by throwing the ball. And the run game really has to be a more complementary piece. So we'll see. The problem with the Patriots is their passing game is just a little dysfunctional right now. So that's why they do have to fall back on the run. And then your margin for error is just really thin. You got to play great defense. You got to force a few turnovers. You have to convert all your third downs and your field goals. Just relying on the run is a tough strategy in today's NFL. It might work against the Steelers, a team that's probably going to have trouble scoring points on Sunday as well. But I still think the Patriots long term, they got to get the passing game going here. And they have some talent. Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Johnny Smith. These are talented players. They might not be Pro Bowlers, but there's talent there. And so the Patriots, they have to get their passing game working if they want to have any chance this year.
On the other side of the football there, they, obviously having to play against Tyreek Hill and his explosiveness, they played, predominantly some zone coverages in there, kind of mixing it up between cover 1 and cover 2 and all, and maybe a little cover 3 in there. But do you expect that to kind of be the same game plan against the Steelers here? Is just don't let the Steelers wide receivers beat you over the top. And, it's not like Mitch Trubisky, once again has a great history of pushing the football down the field, albeit though he did, I think, lead the NFL in deep pass attempts in week 1. He only completed just very small percentages of those. Do you expect to see more zone or more man against the Steelers on Sundays?
I do think the Patriots are going to be a more zone-based defense this year, and that's probably why they let J.C. Jackson go to the Chargers for that big contract and didn't spend much money to replace him. The cornerbacks are less valuable, I think, when you're more of a zone-based defense, and you definitely saw that against the Dolphins. It looked like a lot of cover 3, that old Seattle Seahawks defense with the deep safety and then the 2 boundary corners all kind of playing deep. But yeah, they'll mix it up with cover 2 also with the 2 deep safeties. And And they'll play some man too. But I think with the Steelers' talent at wide receiver, and then also Trubisky is a great athlete, and the Patriots know it firsthand. In 2018, Trubisky and the Bears, the year the Patriots won the Super Bowl, they went to Chicago to play Trubisky and the Bears, and they won, and they should have won it going away, but it was a lot closer than it should have been. And Trubisky ran circles around them. He had 6 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown, and had like a ridiculous, if I remember, like a 40-yard touchdown run where he bobbed and weaved through like 8 different guys. And he only completed 50% of his passes that day, but he threw for 333. So like he went wild when playing from behind in the second half, and he's a good athlete. And so the Patriots, I think with, man defense can create a lot of holes for the quarterback to run around. So I would expect zone defense just to help contain Trubisky too, because that's the one way I think he really could do damage on Sunday, is if the Patriots let him run wild through their defense.
Yeah, obviously easier to keep your eyes on a scrambling quarterback when you're looking back in zone versus having your head turned in man there. Dietrich Wise, good game against the Dolphins overall. Is that the guy in the front there that can wreak the most havoc?
Probably. Christian Barmore, the guy in the middle, the Patriots love him. They expect him to I think be a breakout player in year 2. And they love their 2 defensive tackles, Barmore and Devon Godshaw. They just gave Godshaw a contract extension and a raise, which I don't think anyone around here was expecting, because he's not a guy that makes a ton of impact plays, but the Patriots still believe that the defense starts with, from the inside with the defensive tackles. So they really like Barmore and Godshaw. The 2 guys stout against the run and gives them some penetration up the middle. Dietrich Wise is probably their best pass rusher. Well, no, Matthew Judon is probably their best pass rusher. He had 12 and a half sacks last week. He plays more of the linebacker position, but he's a rusher on passing downs. And they like Wise as a 3-down defensive end because he's pretty stout against the run too. And he's been a guy throughout his career that, he has 4 or 5 sacks a season. And again, it's kind of like their wide receivers. He's not winning a ton of one-on-one battles, but he's an effort guy. And if the coverage is good, he'll get the quarterback down. But, between Wise and Lawrence Guy and Matthew Judon and then Barmore and Godshaw, they've got good, stout players and enough pass rush. Belichick has always believed that he can scheme up, a pass rush with a blitz, or that the coverage will lead to pass rush. So he's more concerned with his front 6 guys being stout against the run. And but Wise is having a good season. He's developed into a good veteran leader, and I believe a captain for the first time this year as well.
Ben, my last question for you, then I'll turn it back over to Dave. You mentioned him earlier, but Kyle Duggar, I remember him, a small school guy. Lenore Ryan had a great Senior Bowl week. I remember being down in Mobile, really impressed by him. How has his growth and development been? And you mentioned the 3 safety packages they're using. Where exactly does Duggar get employed in some of those groupings?
Yeah, Duggar's like the star player. He's kind of all over the place. Tremendous athlete, and is great in the box. He's a really good in the box safety, and I think is adequate in man coverage, but he does struggle in the pass game. I mean, that touchdown that the Dolphins scored at the end of the first half on 4th and 7, a 42-yard catch and run for Jalen Waddle. Duggar took a horrible angle to that. So that's kind of where he struggles out in space. But he's a hellacious tackler, really made some terrific tackles last week. And even on Tyreek Hill in the open field, Duggar had 2 or 3 just fantastic tackles last week. He's a machine in the run game. He's great once the other guy has the ball in his hands of pursuing and getting him down. But in coverage and taking the right angles is where you can take advantage of him. So, the Patriots, Devin McCourty is kind of their deep center fielder, and then Adrian Phillips and Kyle Duggar are kind of those hybrid safety linebackers that have become popular in today's NFL. And, they've become core components of the Patriots defense. They rarely come off the field. Their athleticism and their versatility allows the Patriots to do a lot of different things with those guys.
We're wrapping up here with Ben Volin from the Boston Globe here, and hopefully you follow him on Twitter. It's at Ben Volin, right? Yeah, and Ben, closing out for me here, the Steelers are not a heavy blitzing team, or at least haven't been and haven't needed to be. With obviously with T.J. Watt on one end of that defensive front there, they're obviously not going to have him against the Patriots there. And with all the miscommunication and the problems, a couple of corner blitzes there that the Patriots had problems with. Are you expecting a heavier blitz load from the Steelers front, maybe just to kind of make sure that the Patriots have shored up that communication and ability to pick some of that stuff up?
Yeah, I mean, if I were the Steelers, I would test the Patriots, and I wouldn't let them off the hook by just playing back and not at least showing looks. I mean, at minimum, they need to bring everyone to the line and back out and just make it hard for the Patriots to identify, because the communication has definitely been an issue for the Patriots. And so the Steelers, they can't, if they don't test that, then they're really letting the Patriots off the hook. And with Brian Flores on staff there in Pittsburgh, I'm not expecting them to let them off the hook. I think the Dolphins were one of the blitz happiest teams the last few years with Flores. So maybe they're just saving it for week 2, saving some tricks up their sleeves for when they face Belichick and the Patriots. I'm sure these guys would love to knock off the Patriots and send them home with a loss finally. But they should blitz, maybe not all the time, but they at least need to show it and then back out. So I think they, testing the Patriots offensive line and their communication, all that's going to be crucial.
Yeah, I saw a couple times, more than a couple times, the Dolphins kind of sugar up, have both those inside guys in the A gaps there showing pressure and then backing out and those kind of things. So that's probably something we'll see from the Steelers this week as well too. All right, Ben, I believe the Patriots are, what's the stat that I pulled on this? Teams are 8-0 against the Patriots since Tom Brady left when they don't turn the football over. So from 2020 until 2022, Patriots are, once again, 0-8 against teams that don't turn the football over. The Steelers are 10-1 in games that they don't turn the football over since 2020 there. All that said, and knowing everything that you do about this matchup ahead of time, how about a prediction for us? Which way? And also, the Patriots have not started 0-2 since, I think, 2001. So that's quite a span there. Which way do you see this game going on Sunday, Ben?
2001, a season in which they won the Super Bowl.
Absolutely true.
Probably not going to happen this year. So I was a little befuddled by the line. You would think the Steelers would be favored. And then someone made this point to me, and I thought it was a pretty good one. The Steelers won the turnover battle last Sunday by 5 and needed a blocked extra point at the end thanks to an injury to the long snapper just to escape with the win. Not to discredit the Steelers for the win, but it does sound a little fluky. And, I think maybe they come back to earth this week. I think Belichick's defense is going to force a couple turnovers from Trubisky and that Steelers offense. I think I'm going to give Belichick and Mac Jones and Patricia and these guys the benefit of the doubt right now to say that they're going to have some things cleaned up and have a little bit of a better game plan. Definitely not going to be high scoring. I'm going like 15-10 Patriots. It's going to be ugly, but I think the Patriots are going to escape with this one.
So in other words, take the under on the over-under as well too there. Ben, look, it was great to have you on again. It's been a while. Hopefully at some point down the road, we'll be able to have you on again. You can follow Ben once again on Twitter at Ben Volin. That's VOLIN. Read his work at the Boston Globe, bostonglobe.com. Hit the Patriots button, and you should be able to find Ben's stuff easily on the website there as well. Ben, thanks again for being on the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
And welcome back to the Terrible Podcast. And again, our special thanks to Ben. You can follow him on Twitter at Ben Volin. Again, senior writer for the Boston Globe and covering the Patriots. Always thank Ben for his time and his tremendous insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Hop on the Twitter machine and shout him out. These guys, they spend 25 to 30 minutes with us when we get them, and that they really don't have anything to profit from it other than traffic on their Twitter feed and traffic to their media outlet and all like that there. So make sure you hop on, and if you get a moment, especially if you're on Twitter, and shout those guys out there. And he's, as we go way back with him because I think one of the first times that had him on the podcast, he was covering the Dolphins at the time. And I know he's covered the Patriots now for at least 5, 6, 7 years or something like that. So good stuff from him. He sounds pretty confident that the Patriots are going to win this game.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that prediction there, to be honest with you. But I appreciate the insight overall. It looks like on Ben's timeline, hanging out with Ricky Williams today at his new marijuana dispensary. So there you go. That'll be a good story, I'm sure, that he's writing up there.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave, let's do our own preview of the Steelers-Patriots game. Again, Pittsburgh coming into this one 1-0, New England 0-1 after a pretty ugly 20-7 loss to Miami in the opener. As Ben outlined, the offense not doing much overall. So let's start with that Patriots offense as they look to get back on track here, probably try to commit to that run game a bit more and create some more explosive plays in the pass game.
They had a good split with pass run and all like that. And even the opening drive there, the first one ended up in the interception there, right? And good play by the Dolphins defensive back in the end zone and pop that ball up in the air and get the interception there. But when you first turn on the tape on them, you see the effectiveness kind of that run game that they had early there. You're thinking, oh boy, Miami's in for a long day here. And as you guys, man, the breakdowns you guys do on the offense and defense with Josh Carney and Jonathan Heitritter are absolutely fantastic. Even as much film as I try to watch on this before Friday comes, I always learn a couple things in those. But one thing that I did not need to learn is they're going to run outside the tackles quite a bit in this game.
Yep, they're going to run a lot of outside zone and a lot of toss. Their crack toss game, like crack or place, is the number one thing to look at this week. How well the corners support and fit in the run game. These safeties are going to have a heck of a time getting cracked by tight ends, and they got some bigger receivers like Jacoby Myers. And so crack toss game is going to be probably a core tenet of the Patriots run game.
Well, that Ramondre Stevenson out in space, that's nothing I don't out on that sideline on those corners. I would be making some business decisions on that. That guy's impressive. And, Harris isn't obviously bad either. And, when they're not running that outside the tackles, they're going to run that inside zone on the inside. And, you can expect on some of that for these either outside tight end or outside wide receiver to kind of come in, try to crack a linebacker in those situations there. I think overall, they do a decent job of getting those offensive linemen out to the second level, So I think you're gonna and they like to use a lot of 2 tight end sets there. I think that they're just gonna try. I think they're gonna try to beat their head up as good as the Steelers showed that they were against the run against the Bengals. I don't think they care. I don't think the Patriots care. I think they're gonna say, let's just see on a down by down basis how much you can handle this running game. And
I'm with you.
I think they'll try to build the play action off of that. I think as you guys, and I didn't realize this either, man, they run a lot of mirror routes to both sides, don't they?
They do, yeah. Their offense is pretty much mirrored, especially early in the game. 1st and 10, they want to run just simple 10-yard outs and stuff like that, and just mirror concepts. But to go back to the run game, you're right. I think they want to go back to a lot of things they couldn't do. I think game script, probably didn't help later in the second half of that Dolphins game, playing from behind. They ran no play action, as Ben talked about. They couldn't commit to the run game. They couldn't really establish that run game overall. And Stevenson, I was a big Stevenson fan coming out of Oklahoma. I mean, he's a big, powerful guy, but with great feet, like really light, quick feet that can make guys miss. And so that's a tough guy to tackle. The pursuit and the effort and the swarm tackling has to be really good, probably even better than what it was last week. But yeah, they got two big backs in Harris and Stevenson. And I know Tyke Montgomery's on IR, will not play, but Stevenson can catch the ball as well. It may become a third down weapon for them and for Mac Jones.
Yeah, I think you'll even see them build because their offensive linemen are good at getting out in space. I think you're going to see. I'd be wary of kind of some slip, some screens to the backs because I think that they feel if they can get any type of a number situation on the edge, either outside zone or the crack toss or a screen game, I think that that's what they're going to do. I think they're fine with 4 yards in a cloud of dust. They are going to bet on execution and not turning the football over, and 11 and 12 play drives. They are real judicious with their shot plays, and you're going to see a lot more Kendrick Bourne in this game than you did last week. And they're not overly explosive, but they will build in 3 or 4 shot plays, I think, a game, and especially outside of numbers, especially against cover one. So if they start beating you up with, if you're trying to play, a lighter box against them, and they start having success in that running game to try to make you get that, bring maybe an extra guy down low there. And if they catch you in a cover one type situation, that's when Mac Jones will take his chances on outside the numbers, I think.
I'm with you. And while their tight ends have not been probably as impactful as they have hoped for when they signed them with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, they got some really athletic tight ends, and they're gonna create some mismatches and some matchup problems there. And as I talked about earlier, Pittsburgh or the Patriots can go a lot of 2x2, but a lot of twin receiver sets, and that's something that I don't think Pittsburgh handles all that well because they don't travel their corners. And so I talked about earlier, you're facing a twin receiver sets, 2 receivers to one side. Either the outside linebacker has to walk out, or the safety has to come down and cover over slot. And there are pros and cons to both of those things. So I think we're going to see a lot of that this weekend.
We're going to see someone named Bush or Splain get caught in a position in coverage where they don't need to be.
I'm just worried about how they match up on the tight ends, like I talked about with Henry and Smith. Those are big, athletic guys. They will throw some vertical shots to them. I think they threw kind of a wheel slot fade-ish out of that 2x2 look to Jonnu Smith last week, and those guys can make some big explosive plays really in all areas of the field.
Where they're vulnerable is down in distance behind the chains, right?
Yeah, I think they were overwhelmed in pass pro. I thought they had some breakdowns there. They allowed that nickel blitz that was scooped and scored for a touchdown. They ran I think it was a fire zone over Cole Strange there, as Ben talked about, and got a sack on Mac Jones. They were a free shot at the quarterback. So again, that matchup between, and maybe it's because like Strange to me, I know is not listed as a small guy. Maybe he's playing because he's played next to Trent Brown. He looks small, but like I think Cam Hayward towers over Cole Strange. And can you run him back? Can you collapse the pocket the way that Hayward did to Volin last week? But as we mentioned earlier, if they're sliding to him more and center David Andrews is giving more help, that would neutralize to some extent Cam Hayward. And so that's where you really, may feel the impact of not having a TJ Watt.
Is Ogunjobi the X factor up front?
I haven't thought about it too much. I mean, I think as you talked about what guys pick up the slack, you can't, just expect Jameer Jones and, David Anenih to come in and be your pass rush pressure. So, and Hayward may get a lot of attention as well. And Trent Brown's a good left tackle overall. So I think certainly, just as a quick aside, everyone told me this offseason, Ogunjobi sucks against the run. I thought he was great against the run against the Bengals. He did a good job anchoring and stuff like that. So I was really happy with his performance, but probably needs to do a bit more this week, especially against the pass.
Well, we spent a lot of time right after because that was the running narrative. Some of these other, and I tell you what's happening is these guys don't watch the tape. They run to PFF. They see the Ogunjobi run great, and they say he sucks against the run. It's the tackling issue with Ogunjobi last season. To me, that was it. Now, were there times where he lost his footing and all like that? Yeah. But I mean, I think on his tape last year on a down by down basis against the run overall, I thought was fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He had some missed arm tackles in there and slid off some other tackles and those kind of things. But as far, everything else I thought against the run was fine. I think one of the biggest X factors maybe in this game defensively for the Steelers is how they defend outside the tackle box against the run, period.
Right. So you're talking corners and safeties and how those guys can play the run. Absolutely. I think the corners and the run fits. And and the good thing is Pittsburgh, Akella has shown we're 1-2 as a tackler. Wallace and Sutton are good tacklers. And so I don't think it'll be a major issue, but it's still always a challenge in that cracker place concept.
You got to get them in 2nd and 8 3rd and 6 or 7, those kind of things. If you don't, it's going to could make for a lot longer day unless they self-inflict themselves with the turnovers, which they basically did against the Dolphins.
Right. And like you said, with the toss scheme, they want their big backs on small people, big backs on smaller corners. They trust and they believe in that matchup. Pittsburgh's corners are going to have to prove they can win those. I think they can, but they certainly will be tested. I think you made a great point about Kendrick Bourne, who's apparently in the doghouse last week for being late to meetings, only played 2 snaps. He's going to play a lot more than 2 snaps this week. They scored 7 points, and Bourne had a big catch and only played 2 snaps. And so they're going to get that guy on the field. Levi Wallace actually said during the week that Bourne was one of the hardest guys he had to cover all last year. And so that's a name to watch out for. It's him and Myers kind of being their top 2 weapons in the pass game.
I mean, it's not an exotic offense. It's just they rely on execution.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's a given, but they do very few things. They just expect to do them well.
Exactly. And they really got into a problem with turning the football over. They turned the ball over 3 times. One went for a touchdown on that scoop and score on that strip sack fumble. And so they're going to be all about ball security this week.
All right, flip it over.
Patriots defense, it's a good unit to me. I mean, it's always been, stout and strong and of course, spearheaded by Bill Belichick. I think it's a good front. It's a veteran secondary. I mean, they are missing J.C. Jackson and asking Jonathan Jones to travel, and we'll see if he travels with Deontay Johnson. But it's a physical, strong, good unit top to bottom.
I think you're going to see a lot of zone, right?
Yeah, I think
they're going to say you're not going to beat us over the top. We're fine. We think we can stop your run with limited guys up front, and we think that you can't put together 12-play drives.
Yeah, I think their whole mission is stopping the run, and they got some good run stuffers overall. They got a pretty deep pass rush, group along that line. They probably played more zone than man, but there's some pattern matching. It's a Belichick whole tree of a lot of pattern matching and zone matching and things like that.
Right. What'd you see blitzing wise with them?
They blitzed, according to the numbers, a fair amount, 44.4% of the time in week 1. That was 4th most of any defense. They run. It'll be tough to go empty in this game, and even sometimes on 3rd down, they do those mug in the A gap. Although they have both inside linebackers there, and they use what's called, just rain blitz, where both inside linebackers walk up into the A gap. And the guy who blitzes is away from the center. Whatever side the center slides to, the other guy rushes. So if the center slides to his left, the opposite linebacker rushes. The other guy drops out. So it's not predetermined schematically. It's all based off what the offense does. And so that's going to be something that is going to be stressful for Pittsburgh. I think about Minnesota last year had a lot of success on those rain blitzes, and Pittsburgh never had a good answer for it. So I think they have some good blitzers. They got some good guys off the edge. Judon had a sack and 4 quarterback hits. Wise had a sack and a forced fumble. I think Bentley had a sack, I want to say, as well. So it's a good unit with good scheme and good personnel.
They'd much rather try to, I get the feeling that they would like you to try to run on them.
Yeah, I mean, Miami did not have much success. You cannot run outside. Don't run the toss game because the Patriots see it all the time in practice, and Miami had 0 success on the perimeter. I think you have to really kind of grind it out between the tackles this week.
So that means you're relying on a lot of your inside zone runs, and and you better not have Gunner out there trying to block down on some of these defensive ends and all like that. I have worries that the Steelers aren't going to be able to run the football in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I just think in general, regardless of opponent, they have to prove they can run the ball consistently, and they have not done so. The Patriots are physical. Bentley's a big old school linebacker, as Ben talked about. They run a lot of 3 safety packages with McCourty and Duggar, who's a really big hitter. He had a big hit in the preseason where I think he blew up an offensive lineman on a toss or a screen or something like that, and Adrian Phillips is there as well. So they're pretty versatile. They're pretty physical, and I think overall they're a stout group.
Think we'll see more RPOs this week?
I think so. We didn't see many. I didn't see many in week 1, right? So I think there probably will be some more RPOs in this game overall.
Just try to play the numbers game against them and make the read, and probably some outside quick wide receiver screens. People after this game will probably say, "Oh, what they run the wide receivers bubble screen too much," But that might be your best opportunity to get the ball in the hands of somebody in numbers and get a big play out of it. That or the quick slant type of stuff where you conflict the linebacker.
Yeah, you get a lot of those glance route RPO, the slants on those RPOs is what I'm trying to say. And so I think we'll see more of that this week. Just no shovel pass on 1st and 10 from your 23. Just don't do that, and I'll be reasonably happy.
All right, cover 3 beaters.
Yeah, they were running the cover 3. Miami's offense is a little bit harder to judge because they do a lot of the 49ers type stuff with 2-back and their toss scheme and stuff like that. So they ran a lot of cover 3 against 2-back. I mean, it was probably more traditionally cover 2, but I mean, they're going to run a lot of different coverages and they're going to match, pattern match and stuff like that. So if you're going to run cover 3, you're looking at 4 verticals, getting guys deep, trying to stress the defense vertically that way. But again, they have against cover 3, that's that Ripley's match idea of we're going to carry number 2 vertical. So it's not like the old Seahawks country cover 3 or just spot dropping and getting beat deep.
All right.
Anything else to note there? I think that probably covers it. Well, specialist Matthew Slater, all time, like Tomlin calling him a legendary special teamer, not even just of this era, just a legendary special teamer, which is certainly true. But again, special teams, field position, stuff like that, kicking field goals, that's all going to be really important.
I agree. I think this has the makings for a low-scoring game.
All right, Dave, before we make our picks for that game, let's get ready to make our picks for week 2, but let's hear from our friends over at MyBookie first.
Yeah, the Chargers-Chiefs game is now in the rearview mirror on Thursday night, so that leaves us the rest of Week 2 action, and boy, there's a ton of it. Obviously this weekend here. Prepare for your winning weekend season here at MyBookie and MyBookie.ag. Some like to bet to earn, and some like to bet to make the season more exciting. Either way, MyBookie gives you the most for your money with a double deposit bonus. It's quick and easy. A $250 deposit puts $500 in your account instantly. And you can use your funds to bet on as many games, contests, and props as you would like. To claim your bonus, register today at MyBookie and use our promo code TERRIBLE, that's terrible, designed to add more excitement to the games and the sports that you love. That's promo code TERRIBLE to double your money up to $1,000 with MyBookie. It's only week 2 of the NFL season, which means there's still plenty of time to get in on the action. So don't miss out. Begin your winning season today exclusively at MyBookie, MyBookie.ag, and make sure you use promo code TERRIBLE at sign up to take advantage of their great offer in week 2 here.
And we are both 1-0 to start the week, right? Chargers. It's the old idea of good teams win, great teams cover.
Backdoor at that kind of. Yep. What did you think about that game overall? That pick 6 played obviously huge in that game. 99-yard pick 6. Patrick Mahomes did Patrick Mahomes things in that game. Justin Herbert, man, say what you will. I was screaming for them to get the poor kid out of the game because he really, really looked like those ribs were hurt bad. And let's see, after missing practice yesterday due to illness, Mac Jones is back in the building today. The team is scheduled to take the field at 12:15 p.m. for practice. So it sounds like Mac Jones will indeed work today. But really gutsy performance overall by Justin Herbert, and he was able to provide the cover there because I think it was 4.5. You and I both had the Chargers plus 4.5, so we're both 1-0 headed into this weekend's games. And we'll start with the Carolina Panthers at the New York Football Giants. The Giants 1-0. What year is it? Laying 2 at home against the Panthers.
Well, hey, the Panthers had that great comeback, and it took a 58-yarder at the buzzer to lose to Cleveland there. So kudos to both teams. I mean, Brian Daboll getting that Week 1 win off it was a missed field goal that led to the Giants win, and a made field goal that led to a Panthers loss. So the margin for error in football is really thin. I'll go with the Giants in this one.
I'll go with Baker Mayfield on this. I think they win this outright. So give me the Panthers +2, and you'll take the Giants -2. Indianapolis Colts on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars in a AFC South battle. The Colts on the road laying 4 against the Jaguars.
This will be a good game. I think the Jags, they lost, right? I think week 1 to Washington, but they showed some promise. The offense showed some life. The Colts disappointingly tying with the Texans and eating a big comeback there. Their kicker had some issues. They got a new kicker. I'll say the Colts bounce back, though. They're going to be a good team this year, so I'll go with Indy.
I'm with you on this one, too. I think this is a little bit deceptive here. I think this is a 6-point game here. Maybe the Jaguars keep it close, but I think the Colts come out and cover this, so I'm laying the 4 with you in this game. The New York Flaccos versus the Cleveland Browns. The Browns laying 6.5 points at home against the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets just still look so bad. I'm going with the Browns in this game.
Man, Browns 2-0 would be 2-0 if they win this one. I think they will, but I think the Jets keep it close enough. Give me the Jets plus the 6.5 points here, Alex. How about the Miami Dolphins on the road against the Baltimore Ravens? Ravens at home laying 3.5.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to lean Baltimore here. They get J.K. Dobbins back. Miami, can they get enough offensive firepower? Which team can make more big plays in the pass game? Give me the Ravens.
I want the Ravens to cover this. I don't want, but I think they will cover this one at home. I'll lay the 3.5 with you. Washington on the road against the Detroit Lions. Lions are 1.5 point favorites in this.
First time in, I believe, 24 games, the Lions are favorites. Washington, though, got a good win. Kudos to them. Wentz played pretty well overall. Give me the Commanders in this game.
I like the Commanders outright in this game as well, too. Commanders on the money line here, but I'll definitely take the 1.5 if you give it to me there. I think we're lockstep in a lot of these here. Buccaneers on the road against the Saints. The Buccaneers got some banged up wide receivers, man, going into this game. Seems like the Saints, at least, recently have had some success against the Buccaneers. Even so, Buccaneers on the road favored by 2.5 points.
I think both teams have some injuries. What Kamara's banged up pretty good this week, it sounds like. Could go either way. I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady. Give me the Bucs.
I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady either. Give me Tampa Bay to lay the 2.5 in this game. Falcons on the road against the Rams. And the Rams obviously didn't look super great in that week 1 game, but they've had a lot of time to prepare here, right? Rams laying 10.5 at home against the Falcons. Is that too much or not enough?
I think it's a little much for me. I think the Rams win, but I think maybe the backdoor cover comes in for Atlanta late. Patterson ran well in the opener. Give me the Falcons to cover.
Listen to you with all the lingo here.
I've been learning. I'm watching SVP at like midnight.
There you go. The lingo. You know what? I think the Rams blow them out. Okay. I'll lay the 10.5 in this one. Seattle on the road against the 49ers. People aren't convinced, I guess. Boy, what about that decision by Hackett? And you pay Russell Wilson all that money, and you can't go for it on 4th and 5. You want to kick a 89-yard field goal or however long it was, 69. Nice. But it wasn't. Seahawks on the road plus 8.5.
I loved your monologue there, recapping that game from Monday night.
I'm going to be after you get rid of me on Steelers Depot in my later years, being as I'm at it, I'm going to have one of those tout shows that screams at the television or screams at the audience through the camera and all like that. Okay. You got to load up here. All right, Seahawks plus 8.5. How long before you take the way my health is going? You're gonna be taking me out.
Oh, let's not say that.
Old yellering me out here, out back, because I'm about worthless as nipples on a fly right now.
All right, I'm just gonna pick this game. I'm gonna just steamroll through that. Give me Seattle in this one. I'm gonna show some confidence in the Seahawks.
I'm not. I'll take 49ers. Lay the 8.5. Hacksaw Dave is telling me to lay the 8.5. That's my stone cold lock of the century, of the week, of the month, of the day on Sunday there. 49ers lay the 8.5. Cincinnati Bengals on the road against Dallas. Boy, they catch the Dallas at a good time, don't they here? And you know they're mad coming off of obviously an overtime loss to the Steelers there. Bengals on the road laying 7 against the Cowboys. It is fun to watch Dallas get off to a rough start, though.
Yeah, I'm not mad about that. But yeah, the Bengals, they're pissed. They're going to blow the doors off the Cowboys in this game by 14 plus points.
Yeah, Dallas might not even score 10 points in this game. So give me the Bengals to lay the 7 there. Texans versus the Broncos. Broncos at home laying 10.
You know, the Texans just quietly have done decently with Davis Mills. They tied the Colts last week. The Broncos, I think, again, have that chip on their shoulder after a really underwhelming and disappointing loss there, obviously. But I think the Texans find a way to cover this one.
I don't. I'll take Broncos learning a lesson there in week 1. I'll lay the 10. Arizona Cardinals on the road against the Raiders of Las Vegas. Raiders -5 in this game versus the Cardinals.
I think the Cardinals bounce back. And that was a really rough opener against KC, but that is the Chiefs, that is Mahomes. I think the Cardinals just still have a lot of firepower. So give me Arizona.
Not me. I think the Raiders cover this. I'll lay the 5. The Bears on the road against the Packers, and Packers laying 10 in this game.
Man, that is a pretty big line. I mean, obviously, I think the Packers will be a lot better than what they were in week 1. Do I want to go with, if the Packers are going to get their tackles back, give me Green Bay.
Give me Green Bay lay to 10 as well, too. Tennessee Titans on the road against the Bills. The Titans have running a risk of slipping 0-2 here, right? Bills laying 9.5 in this one.
I mean, obviously, Bills are going to win this game. It's just a question of by how much. Yeah, give me Buffalo. Just too much firepower offensively.
I agree. I think Buffalo blows them out here as well too. Here, that leads us to the Vikings and the Eagles. Yeah, this should be a pretty decent game to watch. Eagles laying 2 at home against the Vikings.
Yeah, give me Philly. I know both teams coming off week 1 wins. Minnesota really playing a good game against Green Bay. Philly having a bit of difficulty with the Lions, but to me that defense is aggressive. They got a lot of firepower offensively. Give me Philadelphia to win by touchdown.
I'll take the Vikings straight up in this one. So I'll take those 2 points there. That is it, except for the Steelers versus the Patriots. And right now that number has grown to New England on the road, favored by 2. What you got?
How are the Patriots favored here? Explain this to me like I'm 5.
It's just a bet. It's the betting public here. You know, it's this thing I think opened around 1.5 here, and you know people look at the Steelers win and probably offense specifically here, and not having T.J. Watt.
What do the Patriots do? They lose on the road week 1. They score 7 points, and
but they turn the football over 3 times. They probably don't envision that happening. If you don't turn the football over against the Patriots, you've got a really, really good chance to win. And I kind of spouted this stat off. I think teams against the Patriots, when they since Tom Brady left, when you don't turn the football over, are 8-0 against them. And I think and Pittsburgh's like 10-1 in the last two seasons in a game. When they don't turn the football over. So there you go. But I just think the betting public's not a believer in the Steelers, and that's why this has grown to the Patriots -2.
I think obviously a lot of challenges without TJ Watt, some schematic problems, but Pittsburgh's run defense, I think, certainly took a really good step forward. That's going to be the bread and butter for New England. I think Pittsburgh will be able to hold up against the run well. The offense will make some more plays. I'm going Pittsburgh in this one, 20-16. A lot of field goals kicked in this game. It's kind of what I expect to be the theme of the season, as both offenses here are trying to find their footing. But I got Pittsburgh winning this one, 20-16.
I didn't learn my lesson in week 1.
Are you going against what?
Yeah, I am.
Oh my God.
I worry about them turning the football over in this game and just not being able to move the football overall. I really am concerned. I do think this is a close game though, but I do think the Patriots cover. I'm just worried about them allowing the Patriots some too many short fields maybe in this game. I have this Patriots 17, Steelers 13 in this one in a very, very low scoring game. The over under on this one is 40.5. So I would take the under, and I have the Patriots covering this. If the Patriots didn't do as we talked with Ben Volin there, this would be the first time that the Patriots have started a season 0-2 since 2001. How old were you in 2001, Alex?
About 8 years old, but they don't have that TB12 anymore, so that'd be the reason. Times are changing for the Patriots, I think, a little bit.
All right, so you definitely had the Steelers winning, and I have the Steelers losing here. One of us is going to be right this week, unless they tie.
Which at this point you never really know. Be careful what you say.
Here's the thing: I don't know 5 quarters of football this time, please.
We were play a normal game of football.
We were so excited going into week 1 and these 1:00 games, and oh man, we'll get our work knocked out and maybe be able to enjoy the second half of the later games and definitely enjoy the night game. Wrong. They created a lot of work, extra work in this one here. Look, obviously, I think the way these two teams match up, this is indeed a winnable game. Who would have? I mean, they would have. They'll shock the heck out of me if they start the season 2-0. I'll tell you that. Talking about the Steelers, obviously there, but
what a great start that'd be.
That would be indeed. All right.
And if I have to chart 100 games again, I'm leaving. You're never gonna hear from me again if I have to chart 100 defensive plays again. But they can't lose at the first game at Acrisure Stadium. This great debut at the newly named Acrisure Stadium.
Are they going to be able to get explosive plays against this?
Yeah, but can the Patriots do that either?
I think they might have a better shot at busting maybe one of those runs to the outside or something like that.
Okay.
But look, you can't turn the football over, right? I mean, that it's a captain obvious thing. But if you want to play the trends and all like that, like I just said, Patriots are 0-8. Against teams that have not turned the football over.
Well, do you think the Steelers are due? Because they've literally not thrown a pick the entire year. 3 preseason games and 1 regular season game. They've only turned the ball over once. You think it's due?
Yeah, it's coming.
All right.
All right. Shall we get to what else do we have here left?
Just read your emails and we'll close out today's show.
All right, this one's from the 188. Hey, guys, this game on Sunday is going to be a double chin strap game. Get ready. He says some thoughts. What's the best way to make up for the loss of Watt? Get more playmaking and splash from 55 and 51, he says. I want to see this become a Miles Jack game. Look, Miles Jack might have to make, that you might be right. Miles Jack might have to make 14 tackles in this game, where he is a super disruptive and controlling them. Devin Bush and blitzing him. If there's one thing that Devin Bush does is firing up on some of them fire X and all like that. So maybe he has to have a good game in the middle there. He says when a piece like Watt goes down, you need a few more plays from all over from other folks. You're not going to get an argument from me there. Overall, who has the edge this week on the offensive line? Steelers or Patriots? Patriots to me, easily.
Yeah, but I just wonder again, can Hayward really ruin Cole Strange's day? And will there be more hope sliding to Strange's side? We'll have to see. That's something I'll be watching for closely in this game. In terms of defensively, who has to step up? I mean, it's kind of everybody. Schematically, there'll have to be some changes there, but some non-traditional pass rushers will have to make some pass rush plays. I think whether you're talking corners, whether you're talking off-ball linebackers, something like that, a safety coming through, someone there will have to make a play as a pass rusher.
Jeff Berg writes in, howdy, what do y'all think about Deontay Johnson's tendency to catch the ball running back towards the quarterback? It seems to backfire more often than not. Wouldn't be better to develop routes that run towards the end zone and away from the quarterback to increase the chance of positive yardage is optimized? I think we got another similar email in here somewhere, I think, for today as well, too. There are instances where and it's just not obviously this year, but throughout his career, of Deontay catching the football and working backwards to try to create space. But sometimes he does make guys miss, and I think we forget about his after the catch ability, and all. But I understand why we get questions with Deontay running backwards after the catch.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed it. Obviously, it's happened before. I don't love it, but I don't really see it as this big, giant issue all that much. Not something it's low on the list of concerns, I guess.
Larissa writes in, "Hey guys, thanks for the best Steelers analysis, best out there. Couple of points and questions. I think that we should utilize Zach Gentry more. He runs awkward, but he's so big. It seems like the limited plays he gets, he is able to get downfield. What are your thoughts on Zach? Deontay seems to run backwards. I wish he would just fall forward when he catches if he sees defenders, protect from injury and get the first down. Najee, the same thing. He either runs into a pile or runs backwards. I get it's partly the offensive line, but regardless, run forward. Do you agree, or am I seeing things? Look, we just talked about Deontay there. Najee just hasn't had any room to run. He is running into the backs of people a lot. Lastly, I know Master Teague was hurt, but when he played, I was impressed. He ran violently, pushed through piles. Any chance we get him back when he recovers? Larissa, first and foremost, the injury settlement time has got to run out on him. What did I say? Was he a 1 week guy, I think?
2. I want to say 2.
2 week guy on him. And then so it's got to be the 2 plus 3 weeks on top of that, right?
Right.
Larissa, I'm not going to rule out Master Teague maybe circling back to the practice squad at some point. I mean, it's plausible. I will just say that when it comes to him. Zach Gentry, Zach Gentry's not a guy you're going to throw the football 2, 3, or 4, or 5 times a game. That's what you have Pat Freiermuth to use for. So my thoughts on Zach is he is developed as a blocker. It was great to see them utilize him on that play last week and get the explosive play out of it. I think he's limited in what he gives you in downfield passing game type options. He's more of a guy that you're going to put in there in 2 tight end sets to help block.
Yeah, I mean, heck, if he can have what he did last week, relatively routinely, a big, play like that, I mean, I'll take it. He's not going to be someone that's going to catch a lot of passes. His snap count's a little bit limited and playing a lot of run situations and stuff like that. And plus his route tree is so limited. He's a seam and then kind of the screen, good window dressing kind of dude. So, if he blocks well, I'll be happy.
Pat Freiermuth's going to have a big game in this, especially if they play a lot of zone against him. Maybe you settle him down. Maybe you can get him running in space in this game.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like Bentley's not a fast linebacker.
Right.
I think Freiermuth can get a step on Juwan Bentley.
Ramon writes in, "Hey guys, this probably has been asked before, but I'd like to know your assessment on why the running game has been non-existent for several years. I may be overreaching here, but it seems like ever since Munchak and Haley left the Steelers, the team has not been able to run the ball consistently. A couple of OCs have come, O-line coaches, new offensive lineman, a first-round running back, and nothing seems to change. What intrigues me is I see teams like the Niners, and it really doesn't matter who is running the ball. They always create huge lanes. I know they have the best tackle in football, and I really don't know if all other offensive linemen are studs, but I'd like to see your opinion on this. Basically, why have we sucked so bad at this for so long?"
It's a $1 million question.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a lot of there, and you don't have the pedigree in there. You're right. You're using a power back in Najee. A lot of your motion stuff to some degree still has a level of clunkiness to it. Wasn't it Tyler Wise that pointed out the hand placement of Claypool on a couple of those fakes or a couple of those just little details there? You don't have enough horsepower at the quarterback to gain respect a lot of times, to get people out of the box. Did I mention running backs are fungible?
You might
have before, and top to bottom, is the coaching maybe not where you want it? It's yes to all of this.
Yeah, it's hard to really single out one aspect, one problem. Not enough talent up front, not a great scheme, changing offensive line coaches, running backs who aren't particularly explosive that can bust a 60-yard play that helps skew the numbers in your favor. A lot of things, really.
They can't even run the split zone effectively right now. You know?
Yeah. But really, I mean, last week, that's all I'm focused on. Is just the present is just no push up front. Just guys just not getting any push off the ball. And listen, even under the final years of Munchak, the run game started to decline. So it didn't start post Munchak, but it was trending that way. And then it's gotten obviously worse since.
Mark in Northern California, we're going to get a kick out of this one here. I remember seeing inside linebacker Mark Robinson blitz from the outside during the preseason and get a strip sack. Does he have the size to play outside linebacker as a backup while TJ is out? You guys got to stop reading Steelers Wire. I hate to be a butt here.
Do you?
No. There are a lot of awful Steelers blogs out there. I'm going to say it. There was one of their writers, I think, suggested playing Mark Robinson as an outside linebacker. Mark Robinson is not an outside linebacker. All right. This is a lot different than being in a situation a couple years ago with Vince Williams, right?
I mean, Vince wasn't an outside linebacker either. I mean,
but
he was. Go ahead.
But they had those injuries, and he had a couple of snaps, I think, at outside linebacker, and now everybody thinks an inside linebacker can play outside linebacker.
Yeah, Robinson's just trying to learn how to play inside linebacker. He's trying to get the hat, trying to get active, make an impact on special teams. I mean, again, they sign Anitti, they sign Ryan Anderson in the practice squad. They're going to play outside linebacker as an outside linebacker and let Robinson he may be inactive again. He probably
might be. Yeah, he's probably going to be inactive again.
So, I mean, we're not talking about changing positions because you just spent this whole summer trying to learn your spot and learn something different. And is he even that great of a pass rusher? I mean, he came in free off the edge. It was a good play and a good finish, but does he have any pass rush moves? Probably not. So, no.
I hate to take shots at but look, nobody puts in the film study that Alex, me, Hightritter, Carney, Wise, Owen, Tom Mead. I mean, look, and we can back it up because we show you our work. Ask yourself when you're reading, did these people put in the film study? That's all I'm going to say about that. And you're not going to find a Steelers site out there that puts in the film study like we do. Off my soapbox there. Dan Devlin.
A soapbox kind of day.
It has.
Both of us have gotten on our soapboxes.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
Oh,
Why are you booing me? I'm not wrong.
I'm right. Yeah.
I'm right. Dan Devlin writes in, great listening as always. Because I live in the Colts County, I end up listening to most of the games. He says, although Billy and Wolf do a great job of calling the games, hearing your show on Monday filled in the blanks on several plays. I enjoy here's the other thing about tape study, man. People say, well, I watched the all 22. All right. How many plays of the all 22 did you watch? You know what? I watched the all 22 and I watched the all 22 3, 4, 5 times through because I miss so much. Do you miss it? I mean, how many times through the tape do you go, man, I miss that?
Yeah, I think we have different approaches. I think you go probably a bit faster through the tape and you go through it again and again. I'll go watch a play 5 or 6 times looking at different stuff. So I don't generally go back and rewatch the whole thing start to finish over and over, but I'm going through, and then obviously as I'm picking out different stuff and focusing on different things, I'm kind of rewatching it in that sense. But I never just watch one play once and just go to the next play.
Right. And I don't really I find maybe I get too hyper focused on certain things and try to take a more generic approach the first time through. to pick up coverage. We do watch tape entirely different. I mean, is there a right or wrong way to watch tape?
No, as long as you're watching it intelligently and showing examples that people say, "Oh, I watched the tape and this happened." Well, show me. We want to show our work here. I got so stuck. They were running this one coverage, Dave. I mean, I can send it to you. I was asking a bunch of people. I still can't figure out what they were doing. But I mean, I got so stuck this week just watching like one coverage and just never even quite figured out what Pittsburgh was doing.
Right. And that's easy to do. And I tried not to get myself so bogged down.
I do. I got to work on that. I get so bogged down.
In that. But let's see. Filled in the blanks. I enjoy the enthusiasm on the broadcast, but you're providing depth on the plays is appreciated. Look, sometimes it's fun, if you can cue it up just right. And God bless, Tunch Yokin, because he would point out a lot of good stuff during radio calls and all, and I think they kind of, to some degree, you definitely miss Tunch Yokin in that aspect there because of his football IQ and all like that. But I think it's fun to enjoy the enthusiasm of a radio, home team broadcast and all. But then, we like to fill in that. We hope to like to think that we fill in a lot of blanks as week progresses after the game is over with. Regarding the O-line, there really is not much to do scheme or technique wise to improve short yardage push. Is different bodies the long-term solution here? Look, they have just got to get better at executing scheme and technique, plain and simple.
Yeah, there really isn't a lot more to it. Just block better, come off the ball better leverage, better leg drive. I really can't point to specific problems, but that's about it.
Look, I think you're going to see the Patriots in this game do just, a few things and do it over and over and over again and try to execute, do what you do well, execute it, make it look like something else and try to build off of that.
And that's the Steelers. That's kind of Canada's model and idea, but
they just don't do one thing
together.
well.
They haven't. It hasn't really come together as cleanly as say if Shanahan does or what McDaniel's trying to do or Belichick has been able to do.
All right, I think we got through all the emails here, Alex. Good questions as usual. And if we missed you, and if you got a good one, send it to theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
I think that's it. Any good college football this weekend? I haven't checked the schedule. Any good? I'll check for Jonathan's articles, but I haven't seen the schedule yet.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you want, there's several must reads on the site now every week. So proud of that. Tom's 10 takes, the turning point from Tyler Wise. Obviously it goes out saying the film rooms, and Jonathan Heitritter every Saturday morning does a great job of kind of pre-scouting these college and players to watch, and also make sure you read that on Saturday morning as well too. So within all that, and look, I haven't even looked at the schedule of college games, so I don't know. I wait to see what Jonathan tells me to watch. All right. You can follow me on Twitter @Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter @Alex_Kazora. Follow the show @Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button, upper navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, please go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button, upper navigational bar. Alex and I, we're going to have to work quick next week, Alex. We've got a short week going on next week there. But let's see. Until Monday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.